in all it's working with the guys, what do you think is the biggest struggle for men trying to work on their frame?
I would say frame is ego. It's always ego. We lie to ourselves really well, like so well. We love to lie to ourselves. Our ego will tell us, "Oh no, she didn't reject me. She's just a lesbian," or "I don't need to work out. I ride my bike," or any of the stuff. There's always an excuse. There's always an exception, and there's always a reason why I don't have to do anything.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of Come On Man. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. You should know what to do already. If you guys are watching during the pre-recorded live on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and sound off in the chat. That all boosts us in the algorithms. I'm only going to be in the chat on YouTube, though. I'm usually in there in the mornings while I'm editing videos for social media and whatever. So I'm usually in there in the chat. So sound off in there, say hi. If I'm not in there, then talk amongst yourselves. You guys can send super chats during these pre-records. I just can't show them on the screen. But if you do send them, I'll make sure to screenshot them and give you a shout out on social media. Speaking of social media, you can follow me on all social media. I'm on all the good platforms. The links are in the description. Get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. I'll send you some free stickers. You get 20 dating app openers. You also get a free copy of my book, Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18. Speaking of my book, you can get that on Amazon and Audible. And you can also get autographed copies. The links for that are in the description as well. And then I'll play a commercial for my dating course right after this. But first, my guest today is the legendary Rian Stone, the world's best red pill couch. I like having Rian on. This is actually gonna be the third time I've had him on my show. I mean, obviously I do Rule Zeros with him on Saturdays, but we've only done a couple of one-on-one interviews. So this will be like the third time he's on the show, and we're going to be talking about his latest two books, Praxeology Volume 1. Maybe do it this way. I don't know which way is better for you guys. Anyway, Praxeology Volume 1 Frame and Praxeology Volume 2 Dread. These are largely like a compilation of all the work in the red pill space, like over the last 10, 15 years or so, just guys in forums swapping notes. And Rian has just compiled it all together into a linear, useful model that we can apply in our relationships and, on ourselves, especially frame, right? So a lot of people, like Dread just came out. A lot of people ask me, well, do I have to read frame first, or can I just get Dread? Because Dread sounds cooler. It's like, no. If you don't fix your frame, Dread's not going to work for you. Okay. So read this first, make this a part of who you are, and then apply that stuff on your wife and fix your relationship or not. We get into that today. The stay plan is the same as the go plan, which I actually learned from the legendary Rian Stone. And I will bring you that conversation right after these words.
Ready to upgrade your dating game? Introducing Paul's ultimate online dating course for men. Master the art of online dating and discover Paul's genius method to meet amazing women off the apps. The real secret sauce? Discover how to leverage Facebook and Instagram to meet amazing women in your local area. Not all hot women are on dating apps, but every woman on the planet is on social media. Learn how to find and connect with them with this revolutionary course. Say goodbye to swipe fatigue and hello to meaningful connections. Ready to transform your dating life? Click the link in the description now and start your journey to success today.
All right, returning to the podcast is my esteemed Rule Zero colleague, the legendary Rian Stone. I once heard Rich Cooper refer to him as the relationship whisperer. Rian is the author of not one, not two, but three outstanding books. Fuck Files, that's fuck with two C's. Praxeology Volume 1, Frame, and Praxeology Volume 2, Dread. And I just finished Dread, so I asked Rian if he could come back on the show so I could pick his brain about it. What's going on, Rian?
That guy you have on as guest today sounds so pretentious. I hate him already.
I always like, my favorite part about having you on is like, what could I say about him this time? Where
Yeah,
you
it's
go,
true.
God damn it, shut up, Paul.
That's the problem. You went straight to couch the first time. Now you got nowhere to go but down.
Well, I think I called you a heavyweight. No, that was the second time I think I had you on. The first time
really?
I called you, no, maybe it was the first time. The world's best red pill coach. I got that wrong. It's couch. It's my mistake. But so Ryan, my
This is
first.
such a shithole. Such a shithole. All right, sorry. I'm sorry about self-deprecate. Oh, yeah, let's do this. Hi.
Yes.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, Ryan. My first question here is: if there was going to be a Praxeology Volume 3, what would it be about?
Actually, that's funny. I don't think there will be, because I don't think people realize like how I did these books. Like, they're not me. This isn't everything I know about this. This is literally cultural anthropology of 10 years of everybody else in the red pill. I've just kind of put it together because the internet's going, man. You know that dead internet theory.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem. When I was researching this, I remember, because I was there for all this stuff, so I remember it, and I kind of knew where to look. And about 30% of it was already gone. I had to go to archives, and some of the archives were gone, so there was backup archives. Turns out all the haters that tried to dox everybody, they were the greatest for archiving everything. Like, haters truly are the best fans. But that's the thing. So the concept of frame, or the metaphor of frame, as Dr. Seeger likes to call it, and the concept of dread were really the two main things that the married red pill did. There's really a third. Like, there's some game stuff, but that's mostly pickup and rational male is handled more dating in that. And so
yeah,
it's like I could write a third book. I could attach it to the praxeology thing, but at that point, that would be me adding something to what's already there. And it wouldn't see, I don't have a huge confidence if it's just me running my mouth. But if I've seen 100 guys running their mouth and doing stuff and finding out what happened, it gives me a little more confidence. And I don't think I would hate to be one of those guys, you know, one of those idiots with a podcast that's just like, yeah, dude, chicks love the new iPhone. So I don't think I could write a third book even if I wanted to.
What are you saying? What are you trying to say? I'm one of those dudes with a podcast.
Dude, there's nothing worse than a white guy with the. Or did you see
a bald
that?
white guy with a beard and a fucking podcast was the worst.
No, it was it's one of my Red Morning ads. There's this one chick on TikTok. She's like, "Oh, there's nothing worse than a white guy with a podcast." And then it's just me popping off. And that was
you're like, I will have you know, ma'am. Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, I'm 80% white. This podcast is goddamn good. And I don't like your art.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. But yeah, in fairness, if I'm going to shit on any podcaster, it's going to be Myron and Walter. So.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like those guys are good. Those guys will take it on the chin.
Oh, I'm sure they're crying on their bowl of money right now.
Right. Yeah. They're in their Lambo. So I was originally only going to talk about Dread today when I first reached out to you, but having finished Dread, I realized that it's important to also talk about frame as well, since a lot of guys won't succeed at what you lay out in Dread without having first worked on their frame. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Well, that's because, oh boy. All right. So we're going to get into the weeds now. Each book, the trick was how to structure something that was very unstructured for like a decade. For frame, it started with the idea of the tetrahedron, which is, I think his name was Scorchzang. He was one of the guys. He was older. He's been around longer than me on that thing. He was in his 60s. He and this guy, Huey McGill, who I've had on the cast. And then they kind of broke down all the things what about frame, like an intellectual thing. Like, what is it I need to know about the sexual marketplace or men and women and that kind of stuff? There's the emotional one. So knowing that, you know, what kind of emotions do you have and why? What are your fail abilities as a human? All the things that make us, you know, not logical autists. And then there's the physical stuff, which everybody knows. Work out, dress nice, shower every day, look good. Yeah, I mean, you obviously know what
I was really triggered when I read that, because you specifically say like no graphic tees, which I didn't wear today for you, Ryan. But no, normally I was reading that and I'm like, that son of a bitch. But then later on, I keep reading and you're like, look, if this doesn't apply to you, like disregard. And I was like, okay, all right, fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the whole thing. It's Red Pill was never about telling people what to think. That's Jesus and feminists thing. Ours is like showing you how to think. And the point of these things is not that they're hard and fast rules. You must not wear a graphic tee. It's an if then statement, or hypothetical or categorical imperatives versus hypothetical imperatives. You know, this is good because it's good, and this is good if you're trying to get a certain thing. And if you're trying to upgrade your wardrobe, start dressing, you know, better for dating girls, wearing your Kiss t-shirt's probably not the best way to go about it. Of course, if you're going to a Kiss concert, you're probably going to wear it and you'll do well there. But the point is, you got to know why the rule is there to know why you should break the rule.
Right.
And then, you put all this stuff together, and then at the top of it is a vision. The idea is you've handled all those 3 different base pillars, because if you don't, your vision's always floppy. You've seen a lot of guys talking about saving the West and crap like that, and meanwhile, they haven't cleaned their room. And that's how those guys fail, because they didn't build their things. But here's where it ties into frame, or into dread. So dread has like a bunch of interlocking concepts. There is, first of all, there's the types of men. There's I call them the Chad and Billy, or the guy who always was great with women, and then the guy who wasn't great with women. And then as soon as the girl started getting baby rabies, that's when she liked him. And it turns out both those guys end up in kind of the same headspace and the same place anyway, with potential dead bedrooms and what have you. So it lets you know no matter where you started, you're going to end up here, but you're going to have different challenges, because if you were always attractive, you know what that was like. If you don't, you kind of have to unlearn a lot of stuff you thought you did know. Kind of like when you were a fat guy and then you lose weight, you have to stop thinking like a fat guy. You got to start thinking like a cute guy, or hot, or whatever you want to call it. So then you get that. And then you have to get the concept of the scoreboard down. The idea is, there's 3 phases to it. The first one is you're the typical guy in your wife's frame. She calls the shots. She runs things. Everything is a battle, and she's always running up the score, and you have no idea why you're losing. So first you got to get out of that situation. And then you got to get your own frame. And that's where the entirety of book 1 follows, is that second part of the scoreboard. And then the third part, which is predominantly dread, but there's some preamble stuff too, is about pulling your girl into your frame. And then once you have all that stuff together, that's when you get into other things. The difference between active dread and passive dread. The 5 different results. Because dread's only going to end one of 5 different ways. Either your wife submits to you, you guys go on, have great sex life, it's wonderful. Or there's like a quadrant of your wife stays or your wife leaves, and status quo, or you go get your needs met elsewhere. And then you get the 4 different things, and it just lets guys know that winning your wife back is not the goal of dread. It was always about fixing you, and then fixing you is going to be in one of these scenarios, and these are the positive aspects of those scenarios, and here's the negative aspects of those scenarios, so you kind of know where your work happens now, right? But so, and it was hard because it was originally just supposed to be 1 book. And
right, I remember that. I remember when you were writing it, and then you're like, "Fuck, this is over 60,000 words. I've got to split into 2 books."
140.
Yeah,
because you want to get it like 60 to 80 at max. And so like once it hit 140, I'm like, it's might as well just be 2 books. And then dread still ended up clocking in at like 100, and I was like,
yeah.
And I cut ruthlessly. I got everybody to cut ruthlessly, and I just couldn't cut anymore.
Yeah, when you look at them side by side, you can see.
Yeah, you can see where I started giving a shit about my job right there.
Yeah, but dread is so. It really is comprehensive though, and it's really both books actually are pretty fucking eye opening for me, honestly. I had certain concepts about both of these, right? But the way you broke them down into 2 books really helped put things into perspective, especially dread. Because my initial understanding of dread came from Atomic Attraction and from Royce, right? And and Royce's shit was all toxic shit, like he has and it's like 1 blog article where he breaks down dread ideas, and they're all fucking awful. And then same thing with Atomic Attraction. It was all stuff like, it was all tricks, right? Tricks to basically instill competition anxiety in your girl, but it's just some toxic shit. And I'm like, I would never do that.
And don't get me wrong, some of the stuff in dread is toxic, but it's like you said, it's the difference between pickup and then like game from a red pill perspective. Yeah. Game was about, well, what do attractive guys do? Let's do that. Where we found it's much better and more sustainable. Like, well, why don't you just be the attractive guy, and then those behaviors come easier, and you can be mindful of when you're not doing them, so you can change your behavior. Same thing with dread, because they're talking about the toxic ways of building anxiety in your woman, and there is a truth to that.
Yeah,
sexual desire comes at the tail end of anxiety, like the fear of missing out, the fear of losing you, the fear of abandonment, all those things. And the whole concept of push and pull comes from that. You know, you push her away, she gets a little anxious because she's losing you, then you pull her back in. And that's the whole concept of like alpha, you know, the push, the testosterone. And it's like, we narrow it down to like hormones, like dopamine, testosterone. Those are very anxiety inducing hormone effects. And any behavior you do that elicits a response from those tends to be those alpha ones. So it all kind of ties together. And then beta stuff is the stuff that is more relationship comfort and then releases that anxiety. And then the whole idea is you just keep that little roller coaster going in a sustainable way. And while it may not work for your wife, she may have too much baggage about how much of a piece of shit you used to be or how much of a bitch she is or whatever. But it'll work for in general. So you can get more women, just not that women.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's
But
what
toxic. I always hate when they call it toxic. It's like
right. I know.
sometimes toxic is good, but deliberately toxic. Not just toxic to teach that bitch a lesson. Because that's your ego just fucking with you. That never works.
Yeah. One concept that I really like about dread is how you mention it numerous times throughout the book, but the stay plan is the same as the go plan.
Yeah, that was like our mantra, man. We had two. One sec. There we go. We had two like hard and fast sayings. There was acta non verba, and the stay plan is the same as the go plan. It was almost like what's that thing in Fight Club? His name would Robert Paulson. It's like that shit. Because every guy came in there, and that was always this. Like, that's every guy comes in. It's like, how do I get my wife to fuck me? That was word for word how everybody starts their thing on there, and it's like you can't do that. Well, why not? Because you can't manipulate people into doing what you want. You're like, well, this is stupid. What do you guys do then? We just fix the guy.
Yeah.
And your wife can come around, and everybody gives it lip service. Yeah, stay plan's the same as the go plan until the go plan starts, and they're like, holy shit, this is a go plan. I'm fucked. And you're like, happens so much. That's why we called it the 2-year dancing monkey improvement program, where they realize their whole life's been a lie up to that point, and they have to start again. But
right.
And then acta non verba, because everybody loves to fucking navel gaze and theorize and pontificate, and it's like, why don't you go do something? Stop wasting our time. Talk in the past tense about what's great, not in the future tense. You can spurg.
Now that your book is out, have you seen an uptick in people basically misunderstanding what dread is?
Well, yes, but it has nothing to do with the book. That's just because every stupid chick that wants to date one of the Rule Zero guys is in Twitter right now, blaming everything on the red pill dudes. We killed the dinosaurs.
Oh yeah.
We're why Trump got kicked out of office. There's stuff like chicks. The chick was a tomboy. That's the red pill guy's fault.
Oh yeah, yeah. The catfish tits.
Yeah, I just can't. Why can't you just blame the devil like you used to? Remember that? That's the devil's work. It's like, no. It's those red pill dudes. And of course they always mean Pearl. But yeah, nobody knows what dread is. And it doesn't help that half of the dating coach Southeast Asian AI like marketing funnel groups out there, they're all doing it, and they all like the idea of dread because it's pretty acrimonious of a title. You got to admit, calling it dread, does that not sound
cool.
like? It sounds like this chapter 3, how to backhand a bitch for getting out of, like, that's what the sound is, and that's the point to it.
Yeah,
because you're supposed to be a sexually frustrated guy, really angry at your wife for whatever reason. Maybe she cheated on you. Maybe she's just not sleeping with anybody. Maybe you're paying for nothing. And you're angry. And so what are you going to have? What are you going to listen to? What's that stupid men are from Mars, women are from Venus? You're going to, no, I don't want to listen to this crap. Dread, though. Oh, I want to teach that bitch a lesson. And then you kind of have to bait and switch guys. And that's always why it's been called dread. We would love to call things not untoxic names, but then no guy will fucking read it. Because guys are pissed off and they don't.
How to Fix Yourself, the book.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
Oh, yeah. My wife hasn't touched me in 2 years. I'm going to get that book.
Right.
Sure.
No, I want the dread book. Let's go back to Frame real quick. You mentioned some of these already, right? You talked about basically the 4 sections that you lay out in the book.
Yeah.
You have the physical pillar, the intellectual pillar, the emotional pillar, and that all comes together to form your vision at the top of the tetrahedron, or the.
Well, it doesn't come together to form it. It's like a chair for stability. Because everybody loves to think about a vision. I want to make millions of dollars in this. Yeah. But if you don't have those things in place, it's pretty rickety, you know. A lot of guys, a lot of dreams.
But isn't a tetrahedron a fucking pyramid, though?
Yeah, it's a pyramid. Look, you're taking the metaphor. Don't autistic, man. Like,
I'm
it's
trying
30
to.
degrees, 37.6, sir, and intellect is clearly 42. Like, come on.
Well, I mean, so I went back while I was, I think I was reading Frame, and that's when I first read that, it's a tetrahedron. And then I did go back to the Red Pill archive, and I found one of the original articles about it, and they diagrammed it like a fucking pyramid. That's why I'm thinking about it that way.
Oh, yeah. Is that Scorch saying Ford Contour or that? Dude, there were so many of these guys that like I haven't heard from in like a decade now. It's crazy. They were the ones that first like gave me the mod duties at the Red Pill thing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I always like going back and seeing their stuff.
It was kind of like how fucking out of nowhere. Do you still keep in contact with those guys? Because I mean, you pulled Archwinger out of the shadows. Like,
well, that was Torsha. That was her doing. So got to thank her tots.
She dug him up. How did she find him?
She probably found him because she always asked me about like where I get stuff from, and I would send her links to this, that, and the other thing. And I don't know how she found him, but she managed to find him. She says something about being a PI in her spare time. I don't know, but I dragged Wine More Please out of the shadows. Rule Zero Dad grabbed his Twitter account because I was here and he wanted to come check it out.
Okay.
Three Horns Lucky. You see him. He's in like the RAR squad, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, yes.
I've done a podcast with Yui McGill. A lot of the guys are just gone. Like Bogey D6. He and Hunter Drew. Remember Hunter?
Is he the guy with the dog that you told me not to be a clown? That is that who's
yes.
that? Is that the guy
got attacked by the dogs?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel bad, Ryan, because I think I let you down when I did the pro wrestling thing.
Well, whatever. That's fine. Pro wrestling that's a job. That's a career thing. It's not just here. I'm going to show you how good of a man I can be, and then have a dog hit you in a red suit.
Yeah, largely the pro wrestling thing was all a big fucking spoof on the Manosphere anyway, though. But
dude, I was choked on that. I talked to Glenn about that too, and he's like, "So you both took it seriously. You had a great event, but he didn't film, televise, or like market it at all because he was like worried that if he did his best and nobody bought it, then it would be a failure." And I'm like, who fucking cares? Like you were like, you know what? It's out. Buy it. It's here. It's awesome. It's yours. You did your best. You came in there and you're like, if they don't like it, then I guess I'm going to WrestleMania 2 and I'm not doing it or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It was the whole thing was unfortunate just because the
venue.
I still like Glenn, but it was just like I spent all this money to like fly out there and to do all this shit, and then it's like and then we just didn't market it well, and it didn't do well. So I ended up losing money on the thing. So
that sucks. Well, it's still there because you'll always be able to do something with it. Who knows? Maybe have like did you guys do? You probably have an equivalent. We used to call it Don Cherry's Rock'em Sock'em Hits. So it's like Don Cherry is the Canadian hockey announcer. He's been around for like 50 years. He always like Jordan Peterson suits got nothing on this guy. Don Cherry. Anyway, so he would just put out these hour-long videos of just people getting cross-checked. It was awesome. It was like America's Funniest Home Videos meets Mick Sorley catching a stick upside the head. It was great. So maybe there's some like Rock'em Sock'em thing where
I can just piece together a montage of my greatest hits.
Bret Hart just did one a couple years back. And everybody's loving that. And then they always put like interviews where he's like, and that's why Goldberg is a fucking idiot.
Right.
It's always the best thing. They always ask us, so what's your opinion about Goldberg? And then just sit back and let him rant.
Brett's got opinions on everybody and they're all funny,
Yeah.
They're all, that guy's an unsafe worker. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Goldberg's the one I'm like, yeah, he did give you a concussion. And from the sport, that sucks.
Yeah, I would understand why he'd be pissed about that. Or when they ask him about the Montreal screw job or something.
Oh, yeah. I actually got tired of clicking those. I'm like, man, I'm tired of hearing him talk about this one. Not once did he ever mention when he clocks Vince McMahon out. That was when I found that on the documentary. Oh, that was great. Came out after the screw job, like punched Vince across the desk. Just left. I was like, we're even.
They did a Dark Side of the Ring, I think, on that. On the Montreal screw job. Did you watch that, the Dark Side of the Ring? You ever catch that?
I've caught clips. I wish I was a bigger wrestling fan than I was. Like, I used to be awesome, but after the 90s, like the Attitude Era, I kind of checked out, and I've been slowly trying to get back in.
I don't think you have to necessarily be a wrestling fan and like watch all the normal pro wrestling shit to enjoy Dark Side of the Ring. Because it's documentary style. They show some of the most fucked up things about wrestling. Like they did one on Ric Flair, and they talk about how on this one airplane, this airplane ride from hell, Ric Flair like cornered some stewardess and was like showing her his dick and stuff, and like it's just.
Yeah, I think I saw the one they did on, it was Scott Hall and his alcoholic problem. I saw Junkyard Dog. I think there was one for him. I don't know if they have a Roddy Piper one. I'm into like my Roddy Piper phase right now, and I didn't realize how bad he got kind of screwed at the end there. Plus that coconut thing where he hit what's fucking snuck over there with the coconut. Didn't realize the thing is like hitting him with cement.
Right. They have other documentaries on Roddy Piper. He had a fucking rough life, man. Like he I think like Pat Patterson like sexually abused him when he was first coming up and stuff. Like there's some fucked up shit that happened back in the early days of wrestling. So
there is. He's still like today when people look at like who would you love to have as like an online personality like to replicate? I would love the Piper. Like if I could come onto this cast and start talking like the Piper, and he gets real excited, and then he talks real slow, like and he's gonna. I wish I could do it, and the fact that he could just rattle that off in a moment's notice.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just great.
You'd have to slowly sprinkle that into your shit so that it's an evolution over time that people don't quite notice at first, and the next thing you know, now you're fucking the red pill's Roddy Piper.
See, building frame is hard. I can't get the Piper going. I can't make the hot rod happen overnight. It takes years, son, and you don't know what you're gonna get until it's coming.
Shit.
Oh,
so
I totally got you off topic. That's my bad.
No, that's fine.
About books.
Yes, we were talking about. we're talking about frame, and one of the questions I had for you is: in all the years doing this, reading the reports, working with the guys, what do you think is the biggest struggle for men trying to work on their frame?
Oh, 100% covert contracts. Although, you know what? Actually, I'd lump that with dread. I would say frame is ego. It's always ego. We lie to ourselves really well, like so well. We love to lie to ourselves. Our ego will tell us, "Oh no, she didn't reject me. She's just a lesbian," or I don't need to work out. I ride my bike," or any of the stuff. There's always an excuse. There's always an exception, and there's always a reason where I don't have to do anything. There's always a reason where I screwed up and it's not my fault. There's always a reason where I think things went well and did in spite of you. Dude, alpha as wolf. I remember this. There was like a phase for like a 2-year period where every time somebody would pick like a wolf or canine reference to his avatar or his profile, you just knew that guy's going to be an idiot. Like this one guy, he went from his last field report before he fucking spurged out was, I fooled around with the wife. She wanted a blowjob from her. She's like, "I'll get you later, not right now." So we went downstairs, worked on her stuff. She went, put on lingerie, came down in lingerie, fully expecting to give him a blowjob. And he took it from there to her accusing him of assault. And then he blamed all of us. And we're like, Jesus. And then I think it's even in the book as a good example, but it was just so ridiculous. And like, he would hear friends of the family asking about like, "Do you think you're abusive?" And he'd like, would just like, "What are you talking about?" And then you realize what it was. It's because every time he was put in a situation where his wife was talking to him, he would assume it's a power game, and he isn't smart enough to know how to deal with it, even though we gave him all the tools. So he would just start like wrestling with her as his way of asserting dominance. Meanwhile, she's just like, "Do you want cupcakes?" He's like, "Ah."
Yeah, I decide what desserts we have around here, bitch.
Basically. And he thought it'd be just like play fighting, but if you just kind of come at it like an autist, yeah, she's freaking out over it. And then he's like, "It's you guys, your material needs updating, you need work." Like Jack 10 did this great, took like 10,000 words to break down exactly where he was screwing up. And the guy, it just wasn't sinking in, so we eventually had to boot that guy out. But there was like tons of guys like that. I Am Steve McQueen was another one. He deleted everything. Hated his bitch wife, and he's like, "Oh, the problem is her. Ditched her. She got kicked out, got a new girlfriend in 3 weeks. In 6 months, the new girlfriend acted just like his ex-wife, because it turns out it was his behavior driving it. But he wasn't listening to nothing until finally he's in the situation where he's like 3 years later, he hasn't made any progress. So yeah, for frame, 100%. It's that we lie to ourselves. We have no introspection, no self-awareness, and we love to blame other people for our problems. We're as bad as chicks. I'd say worse, because at least chicks smell nice and shower every day. Wise man once said that. He's in jail right now. Thanks, Trump.
Thanks, Trump.
You know, you think Trump could have at least pardoned them all before he got kicked out of office too, right? Like in December or January 6th. Yeah, he wouldn't have been able to. Never mind.
He was already out. He was already out then.
Should have protested in December.
You mentioned field reports.
Yeah.
You share a lot of field reports in both books. In Frame, you talk about the importance of field reports. What do you think guys get wrong about writing field reports? Because when what I see in my beer club, I tell guys, hey guys, if you go on a fucking date or whatever, like share your field reports. You're gonna get better. It's gonna help you get better and stuff. And it's like they don't put a full fucking field report. They throw like a half a paragraph in there of what they can remember, and it's all like the good stuff. It's like the highlight reel of what went great, and it's like, dude, that's not a field report.
Well, that's the best part, because like this is what I love about field reports. Even the shitty ones have a lot more information than you think, and this is, you're right when a lot of guys get it wrong, because like if you've seen, I don't know how many of them you've seen now, but after like your first 100, you kind of get an idea of what usually goes there, what should be there, and if something's missing, usually you have a pretty good idea why. So the biggest one I find is brain dumps. A guy doesn't know what he wants. He doesn't know if he did it well. And so he just puts down all the details sequentially. He doesn't know which ones are more important, which ones are less important. So he tells you everything, and then usually end it with something like, thoughts? What do you think? How should I fix this? What should I do?
Thoughts ? Is my fucking absolute all-time worst post. It's like it's a lazy post.
Yeah. Well, it's this, they don't know any better, and that's fine, because I'm like, okay, perfect. So that's an easy fix. First off, what do you want? Wave a magic wand. Assuming you cannot make anybody else do anything, what do you want out of this? And then most guys just stare at you like you got 3 fucking heads, because they've never been asked that. Like, they've never thought, I get to want something? It's like, yeah. Did you want to sleep with her? Do you want her to stop yelling at the kids? Wave a magic wand. Do you want out of this relationship? Do you want her to, like, what do you want? And then once they ask that, and then you can kind of break down the second problem guys make is that they make themselves the co-star of their own main story. They always make the wife the protagonist. And you'll see it as like 15 she statements, and it describes her to a T. And I'm like, if I learn more about your wife than you in a field report, that means you have no frame. That much we can guarantee right now, because you can't even describe things from your own perspective. And then fixing that one's easy enough. Take this entire thing and make yourself the main character and rewrite it. And a lot of times what guys will notice is once they talk about it from their perspective, it's called E-prime statements, is that what they want to do and what's actually bothering them makes sense now. It's like, oh, geez, when I just think my wife's a bitch, it doesn't give me the ability to think with any clarity on what it is I'm not getting out of this. And then the third big mistake is temporal. They always write these things in the fucking future tense, like a New Year's resolution. And a good field report should be past tense. This is like, they ultimately go down to, this is what I wanted, and I did this to get there, and this worked, this didn't work, and it got me closer, or I didn't get any closer to my goal, so this is what I'm going to do to change. It's fundamentally an OODA loop. It's a term I borrowed from Venkatesh Rao, who wrote a great book called Tempo about narrative-based decision-making. It's an Air Force term about air superiority, but it applies here so well. Like, you observe, you orient, decide, and act. And the faster you can iterate on that, the easier you're able to solve these problems in your life, or, achieve air superiority if that's your game. So for a lot of guys, when they do it from her perspective, they're not observing. They're not observing on their own stuff, and they're not orienting themselves toward a decision. When they do it in the future tense, they're not deciding on anything. They're just like wishing. And then that's the problem, because you get a little dopamine spike when you talk about what you want to do in the future, which makes you less likely to do it. I guess the last one too is fungibility. Like, they don't make their field reports smart. What's that? SMART goals, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so they'll say like, well, so what is it you want? Well, I want to have more sex. Well, how much more? Because if you just say more sex and you get laid once in 12 months, then technically you had more sex. But I guarantee you that's not what you wanted.
Yeah. Vague goals get vague results.
Yeah. And even if it's like an unreasonable goal, I want to get laid 100 times next week. Like, you won't, but at least you'll fail, and then you'll see, okay, why did you fail? How many did you get? Well, I only got 2. All right, it's 2 out of the week. So maybe is it your goal needs to be realigned, or is it your skill set isn't good enough to get you there, or are you missing like the amount of people you need to get there? Like, you know what I mean? There's always an answer to it. And sometimes the answer is just to accept, like, yeah, I want 52 fucks a year, and I got to 48. But you know what? That took so much of my extra time that I would rather go camping and settle for 25 or something. Like, and I know that's an autistic example, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the whole point is, by being specific, by having a time attached to it, even if it's unreasonable, at least then you can you start to prioritize things. And that's kind of where I see where guys get that glimmer of it. where they start to actually have a preference. They start to actually decide what it is they want out of life. They start to have expectations. They start to hold people to standards. And I love it. And every guy makes a different choice. Some guy will be like, yeah, I want some dude to fuck my wife in front of me. My name's Jack Murphy. And like, I'm like, go for it. If that's your thing, like, I don't like it. And I don't have many field reports on it. It seems like it's pretty easy to get your girl railed if you drop her off. I think it's like animals. You just put them in the same cage. It's not like pandas. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, but you accept the things of that. There's a possibility that she might fall for the other dude. There's a possibility she could bring an XTD home. There's a possibility you're going to go on to Sydney Watson and she's going to make fun of you. Like, as long as you're willing to accept all these consequences, then go for it. And if you're not willing to accept it, then probably shouldn't be doing it because your brain's trying to tell you, I don't want this. But you can't have that conversation if a guy's like, got an ego attached to him. He has to be willing to suck it up and do what he needs to do.
Right. Do what you need to do to get your wife railed, bro.
Hypothetically. I mean, you don't have to. That's the other thing. There's no hard and fast. You don't have to cuck your wife.
You don't have to do that.
But if you want to, just do it unapologetically. And if you can't, then don't. You think that I could have just saved that man's career right now?
You could have.
$5 super chat. I could have given him $6 and $7 worth of advice.
I think I saw somewhere that he's back. He's back after a little bit of that whole hiatus he took after the shitstorm.
Yeah, but he's on a different grift now. He's doing the Coach Red Pill thing, where he went Coach Red Pill went from economics to Red Pill to geopolitical super spy or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
Jack Murphy was real estate, and then he was doing the Red Pill, or then Democrats to deplorables, then the Red Pill, and I think now he's doing like medical vaccine something or other. I don't know. I can't keep track. Look at you, you're like, what enough?
Okay, yeah,
that's
whatever.
how the grifts work, man. If you got a grift, you go to a new niche and you got a whole new audience, and then they don't know you're a piece of shit. And if anybody comes in calling you a piece of shit, you're like, oh, those are just the haters. That's the Matrix coming after you. That's like grifting 101, man.
Oh, I got to write this stuff down. You've been in the space long enough. I'm still learning. So I got my last question about Frame, and then we'll move on to Dread here. So you mentioned it already, but you point out in Frame in your chapter about the Dancing Monkey Attraction Program.
Yeah.
But what a lot of guys get wrong about the space is what you describe as a paint by numbers approach to getting their wives to want to fuck them again. Yeah. Or getting new girls to want to fuck them. And what they miss is that they have to make all this stuff a part of who they are at some point.
Yeah.
Right?
You can't fake it. It's not just it's not a parlor trick. What's that line? Sticking feathers up your butt doesn't make you a chicken. Good old Palinchuk, man.
Down, man. Yeah.
Well, that's a Palinchuk line from Fight Club. But yeah,
okay.
It's a good book. If you haven't read it, I'd suggest it. I think
I've only watched
better than the book, but the book is pretty good. The
okay.
book is there's a bit of differences. Like he kills himself at the end, which is totally not what the movie does. Kills himself in front of all the testicular cancer people. Where was I going with this one? Oh yeah, the Dancing Monkey Improvement Program. Yeah, because it's the covert contract. Like if I do all of this dread stuff all this frame and build my frame and get dread, then my wife will love me forever and I'll have a problem-free life. And like that's straight out of Glover's work, covert contracts, and guys do that. And then I don't know if it's girls know it's a covert contract and they blow it up on purpose, or because the guy's so invested in his own little Walter Mitty fantasy that the girl just was never on board with it. But eventually it gets blown up, and then you just get a cycle of resentment. That's how you get most guys have like hundreds of little covert contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the other person doesn't adhere to their side of it that they didn't know about and probably don't care to enforce, then you get mad at them. How about that, huh? You're sitting here, you invent your own headcanon for them, and then you're like, they better do it, and then they don't do it, and you're like, you fucking bitch. How dare you? Did you not
do what
read
I
the script?
Expected. Right.
Yeah. And at that point, you're kind of like, dude, is that even reasonable to expect? Like, I'm all for whammon ain't shit. I have it in my thing even. Like my little
I'll bring that back up here. Here we go. There we go. Whammon,
am I right?
Yes.
Whammon ain't shit. I get it. But at the same time, it's like, if you're not clear with your expectations, you can't be mad when people don't follow them. And that's the whole stay plan, go plan thing. It's like your plan, your male action plan, it's an Athol K line, cannot involve making your wife do something. That's manipulative. It's like a used car salesman, and it never works. The only thing you can do is, and this is like a dread concept, luxury branding. Like Apple has never said buy now. Louis Vuitton has never gone on sale. Bugattis, or for your Ferrari, I think you can't even buy a new Ferrari. They have to cut. You have like show me 5 old Ferraris you own, and then I'll let you look at the new ones. Like that's when you walk into the dealer. That's why all these grifters always get Lambos, because Lambos sell to anybody. They don't care. But Ferrari, they're like, no, I can't have no idiot driving these things. You're not allowed to paint it, nothing. That's luxury branding. That's fear of missing out. That's a high status signal. That's why guys buy Rolexes. So the idea is you take these marketing things that have worked very well for human beings over the years, and women are susceptible to it. God knows they're what, $14 trillion consumer spending industry worldwide. Guys are like 3.7. So like if marketing didn't work, women wouldn't be wouldn't be like running the world with that right now. So why don't you just use that now? Because you have to. You can't really say like, well, I got a good job, but I could be a good like, dude, good fathers are falling out of the sky. Every divorce chick gets a new one within the year.
That actually is a good segue, because you do talk about luxury branding in Dread. In fact, you start off with the edamame reference at the very beginning, which you don't get until you read the book a little bit more. But then you talk about how look, fucking soybeans are a commodity crop. They're fucking cheap. But to sell them to rich people, we dress them up and call it edamame, right?
Yeah,
it's
all marketing.
Yeah,
it's perfect. Edamame or soybean masculinity. I don't know if I use the term in there, but I always refer to it. It's true, because we are. The Industrial Revolution has ruined male productivity as a mate selection strategy. A barrel of oil does what? 20,000 hours of manual labor, or 20,000 man hours of labor in every barrel of oil. You need 20,000 guys. Dude, that barrel of oil is whooping our ass. So when you can't lead with how great your job is, how good of an earner you are, because girls can earn.
Yeah.
And everything is cheap. So if they don't need you, all that's left is to want you. And what do they want? They want Louboutins.
Right.
And you can't paint the bottom of your feet red and expect to get poons, so you got to learn all the other stuff. Or maybe you can. I don't know. You looked at me like you were
has anyone tried that? I mean, has anyone tried it? We'll
I'm
have to
sure
test that
somebody
out.
tried tainting his asshole, so I'm almost positive that somebody's tried it. Or suntanning his ass. Or yeah, were you here for that or no?
When I was first sort of interacting with you guys in the Rule Zero space, before I was on Rule Zero, but just, bringing you guys on for interviews and interacting with you guys on Twitter, there was a whole thing about everybody suntanning their assholes.
Yeah, those stupid seed oil retards. Suntan your taint, suntan your asshole. AJ Cortez, that actually sounds pretty healthy. And like, I get the logic behind it. It's because your skin is really sensitive and thin there, so you'll absorb more vitamin D. Meanwhile, I don't think vitamin D is like the missing part. But it's just like the no-fap guys. They're just like some weird pigeon dance. And you'll get the food pellets. I don't know if you. It's a BF Skinner reference. If nobody gets it, that's fine. But like, Jesus, look up the pigeon dance, BF Skinner. You'll see what I'm talking about.
All right, guys, write that down.
Oh wait, you do know that one because you corrected me on it when I called him. Was it you or Rollo? When I think I called him like the father of behavioral humanism, and somebody's like, "That's not what he is."
That was Paul Benjamin.
Oh, wrong Paul. God damn it.
Yeah. Well, we both shave our heads now, so it's easy to mistake that.
So have a neck. That's the difference.
There we go. So my original understanding of Dread, we talked a little bit about this at the beginning, right? It was basically a strategy to induce competition anxiety in your girl to get her to try to work harder. What I learned from your book is that so much more than that, right? It's more about not letting yourself be taken for granted and becoming a luxury brand instead of a commodity. We talked about that. And I love the example of the commodity that you used with the edamame, the spicy edamame at the end.
Yeah.
One of the newest concepts I learned was that there's 3 different captains. I didn't understand this.
Oh, you didn't know about those? Oh, I guess, yeah, you guys.
I had never, I don't think I had tuned into any of your episodes about those. And I never read about it in the Red Pill archive and stuff like that. But so I got these written down here.
Yeah.
So we have the drunken captain and his begrudging first officer.
Yeah.
What's this one in a nutshell?
Oh, that's easy. That's literally that. You've been effing up, and your wife had to pick up the slack, and she's resentful about it. That's that one. That's as much as like I hate tradcons running their mouth about winning up a good woman. Sometimes it really is because you're just a piece of shit, and you got to stop being a piece of shit. And she wants to love you, but make it so goddamn hard. And those are the easiest ones too, and they're also the most common. It's literally go to the gym, thin your fat ass down. You know, if you're at work just phoning it in, maybe put in a little bit of effort. Maybe hug your kids once in a while, shit like that, right? And then you notice at the end of that, you start just taking over stuff, and your wife lets you because she loves it. And then things just work out. It's great. It's nice. It's easy. It's simple. You know, it maybe is you. It maybe isn't you. But the only way to find out is to like start going through the steps to figure it out.
I think I wrote down here that reading through that, I think that was me in in my marriage, and that was me in my relationship with Red Pill Chick, like to a T, the way you describe it in the book.
Well, that makes sense because you were a sailor, and sailors are the laziest of the services,
We are
even
so
more than the
fucking
Air
lazy.
Force.
Right?
The Air Force is really good about getting out of work. They put a lot of effort into it, so they have the work ethic.
They have to work to get out of work.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why I have to get a jab at the Air Force right now. It just felt right, you know.
You know what? It's always good.
Yeah.
You have the neurotic captain and his complaining passenger. What's that one?
Oh, that one, dude. This is literally a crazy chick, but the problem is because she's crazy and needy, it makes the guy feel special. So like I can save her, that kind of shit. But at the same time, it also ties into those guys with like mommy issues, you know. Mom, promise keepers, like Rolo talks about it, the kind of guys you see mom complain about dad, so they swear I'll never be an asshole like dad. Meanwhile, dad knocked her up 4 times and slept with half the neighborhood, and he's like, maybe dad had a point. But yeah, all that shit where you just want to like treat your woman like porcelain, take care of her, and she weaponizes it through her neuroticism. So you're always walking on eggshells, you're always afraid of making her mad. You stop hanging out with friends because she gaslights you. Every time you want to go to a bar with a buddy, she has a headache that night, and you want to take care of her because that's what a good man does. Meanwhile, you haven't seen your friends in 2 years. They stopped asking about you. That's those guys. And those ones...
The Captain Save-A-Hope types, would you say?
Okay. Like, if your wife's an alcoholic, chances are you're a type 2 captain as well. Especially if you're enabling her behavior. Or those guys, those feeders. You ever see them? They got the real fat 700-pound wives. They call the husbands feeders.
Yep.
I just want her happy. Here's the lard, honey. She's like, thanks.
Just eat straight up lard.
Yeah, all these. And so for that, a lot of the issue is just the guy has got like so much issues from either his childhood or a fear of abandonment, or he's just literally terrified of his woman, and you kind of have to fix that shit.
Got it.
Yeah, that's where the emotional that's where a lot of the emotional stuff comes in, and a lot of the stories where you're like, guys aren't that bad. Yeah, yes, some guys are. Some guys are that far gone and still manage to catch a wife. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Well, if they can do it, you can do it.
What's your excuse, incel?
Yeah. So then there's the captain and her husband.
Yeah.
What's this one about?
Boss bitch, man.
Yeah.
She's the best thing you'll ever have, and you know it, and she knows it, and she berates you in public. Oh, she wears the pants. Oh, my wife, like Hillary Clinton is your wife kind of thing. Maybe she was. The one example, I don't know if I used it in the book, but this guy, his wife was named Vampire Squidina. She came into the thing once and put us all on blast because you're ruining my husband. And we're like, chances are your husband wasn't happy. That's why he came here. So maybe stop being a bitch to him. Turns out he actually did have some built up resentment, but not because of that. She used to be a model. So she was hot and she had all the money. And then she turned 28 and she wanted to settle down and have kids. And then she grabbed him and he was so lucky to have her. But then at the end, he's like, well, now that I'm attractive, how come she got to have all of her fun and then settle down in her 30s? Meanwhile, I never had the fun. And that's those guys. And that's the problem is a lot of those girls, the boss girls, or Franco and David Clare talk about the political types in the archetypes in Practical Female Psychology. All the ones is that they think they like being in charge, but they know they're not perfect at it. And they're too proud to admit when they make a mistake. And they're too proud to admit that they're running their marriage into the ground. And the guy is too meek to stand up to his wife because he doesn't think he's better than her, or maybe he's not and he has work to do. And then you just have two people that are too proud to admit that this is a horrible situation, you should fix it. Now, and those ones, sometimes it's too far gone. Sometimes she refuses to admit. It's like, no, I want to be I don't want a husband, I want a floor mat. Or and on the flip side of that, the other example is like the kind of girl who had daddy issues, you know, dad was mean or abusive or whatever, so they like a pushover man that they can bully around to feel better about themselves. Same thing there. But instead of the neurotic captain, the one that's like always terrified of losing him to the point of like psychosis, it's the kind of girl that just never wanted a man. I just wanted a floor mat. I need somebody there to like put up with my shit.
That makes sense.
Guys. Yeah, and then so all three of these guys, and you'll have a different comp. Like I don't think I got hyper specific, but you'll maybe be in the second part of the scoreboard. Like the first one probably has a frame, but he just, start implying it again, you'll be fine. The second guy most likely is in his wife's frame. The third guy's in his wife's frame. And when you're in your wife's frame, building your own frame is generally quiet. You don't start, running your mouth off to your wife or shit like that. But when you're trying to pull her into your frame, sometimes it's like, hey, shut that bitch's mouth up before I cunt start her head. Sorry, you don't mind the swearing, do you?
No. We're past the 8-minute mark. I'm good.
Oh, yeah. Good. Remember that line from Way of the Gun or no?
No. What is it?
Right at the beginning, Way of the Gun, awesome movie. Benicio del Toro and Ryan Felipe. Sarah Silverman was like running her mouth and talking the shit, and then at one point he turns around and is like, shut that mouth up before I start her head.
Oh.
They ended up punching her in the face. It was great. But yes, like sometimes you have to be an absolute asshole because she's been so used to bullying you for all this time, to actually standing up for yourself. But the problem is, if you don't have a frame and you start doing that, it sounds just like, a 4-year-old or a teenager calling you out. And you're like, shut up. It doesn't work. They're going to call your bluff.
Got it.
So
yeah,
what will work for one guy won't work for another guy, or it might work for him, but not until he's developed his own frame, has his own standards, and is willing. Because let's face it, if you start running your mouth off to your wife, there's a chance she might just say, you know what, fuck it, I'm out of here. And she might leave. So before you run your mouth, be ready for that scenario. And then a whole lot of detail about what to do in there as well. Yeah. How do you get prepped for divorce? I don't think I go into the legal aspects because that's too large of a topic for any book and a non-lawyer person. But
yeah,
I do go over like strategies. Like this is the kind of thing you want to approach it with. When you're meeting with your lawyer, this is the kind of stuff like you want to set up a strategy session and find out what you can do to change things. Or
yeah, you do go into all that. You talk about how this is not legal advice. This is strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. Because a lot of guys just go to the lawyer and they're like, I'm getting a divorce. What do I do? And the lawyer's like, all right, here's the boilerplate answer. There you go. Sign
this. This is the fair and equitable way of doing this. Yeah.
Instead of coming out with frame, like you're a guy, you go, hey, I want my kids. I want the house. I don't want to pay alimony. Aim for what is it you actually want. And then you tell him like, what do I have to do to get there? And then he'll like, oh, the statutes say this. If you want to get here, good example. I used one of the first clients I ever had was a military surgeon, and he wanted custody. And I flat out told him, like, I guarantee you what the lawyer's going to tell you, because they've briefed us on this too, is that while you're in the military, you will not get custody. Because we have I don't know if you have it there, but in Canada, there was like you're always deployable to meet a universality of service. So at any moment you can be deployed, and the courts refuse to give you custody if you don't know next weekend you might be gone out of the country. So I'm like, you have to make a choice. Do you want custody or do you want your career? And like, there's no wrong answers. Most people just shame him into saying, quit your career and don't resent your kids, but go get them. Right. I'm like, no. And he goes, you know what? It earns good money. It'll help pay for their college. And I worked really hard. I'm a lieutenant commander. I'm going to stick with the career. He's like, great. Now here's the thing. Now you have a bargaining chip. Your wife's going to want custody. She doesn't know you can't have it yet. So, hey, I'm not going to fight you on custody, but I want these things here. And so when he kind of talked it over with his lawyer and got to this stuff, and he's like, dude, it actually made life so much easier. Because it turns out, I'm sure lots of moms are like this, as soon as you go after any amount of custody is when they start becoming vicious. And so for him, it made the process great. Plus, he swam in so much poon between then and there, and he's like, it's great. Daughter only comes over when I have like heads up now, so it's perfect. Win-win.
Yeah, you talk about that guy in the book, actually.
Oh, good.
I
haven't emailed him in forever.
So going back to the captain and her husband. So I know I know a guy in the space. I would describe him as a kind of a blue pill guy, and not in this insulting way. He just doesn't know what he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And I kind of think he would fall into this category, just having talked to him a few times. And, he puts his fiance on a pedestal, describes her as his rock. He defers to her authority, stuff like that. I'm like, And when I have guys on the channel, I'm not there to argue with them. I'm not there to debate them. I'm just like, oh, okay, how's that working out for you? Like, but yeah, in my head, I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, at least you're smart. Most guys will start like, talking like it's Dianetics or some shit, right? Have you read this book, Rational Male? It'll change. Like, shut up. He doesn't want to hear it. He didn't ask for advice. He's telling you he's happy. Even if he's lying, it's not your job to save him. Like, right. Don't ever. If I ever tell a guy anything, I'm like, don't ever try to like red pill your friends. Don't ever start telling them this stuff. If they ask in a moment of desperation, drip feed them the smallest amount possible, because I'll tell you right now, nothing is more awkward than you giving him the fire hose of truth
Mhm.
to have him turn around and tell his wife, look, I know you cheated, but I think we can make it work. By the way, my best friend's an asshole and he can't come to the house anymore. It's like, you don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Well, that's something I think guys
Sucks for book sales, man. Sucks for book sales. I should be telling them, you get on there, get a clapboard.
Hand them my book, straighten them out.
Yeah.
No, it's honestly one of the almost like most frustrating things that guys need to learn coming into the space. I think I'm guilty of it too. It's like when you first get into the space, your eyes are opened to all these truths and you start seeing it playing out in front of you. Like you almost want to be an evangelist and tell everybody like you're fucking, a Bible thumper with the rational male or like it right. But then you start realizing that most guys don't want to hear this shit. Most guys don't want to hear it. They don't want to believe it. And it's like, okay, no, you're going to have to find out the hard way. Yeah.
Dude, that used to be my joke for the longest time when like somebody would come into the forum and ask stuff and then everybody would give them like this, like the standard answers that you would know that you'd read from all the books and that. And then they would start making excuses for her, or they'll start like making excuses for themselves. And you're like, all right, so you clearly are here for the married red pill certification to do whatever the fuck you want and learn things the hard way. And it's been signed and notarized. It's all yours, sir. Most guys don't kind of catch on to what you're saying, but it's just kind of like, yeah, go learn it the hard way. I think most guys kind of have to. Like, I don't know if I think it was Frame. I said it like I think you have to be zeroed out.
Yeah.
To get pilled. I really don't think there's another way. Because like you need that trauma, you need that pain to get your brain to stop and actually like try and fix what's broken.
Yeah, I would say most guys end up in the space right either from a breakup or like you mentioned a lot in your two books is that guys are looking like, how do I get my wife to fuck me again? Those are like the two avenues into the space.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it used to be our greatest like subreddit feeder was the dead bedroom subreddit. Because they loved going. Apparently, there's tons of places like that. The big watering holes for guys to cry on each other's shoulders, like a testicular cancer meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, my wife is low libido and low whatever and high this, and I've tried everything, and I've bought her flowers, and she ate them. I don't fucking know. And then every now and then, like somebody will say some random shit, and they're like, "Who is this asshole?" And they click his thing, and they'll find a red pill article, and then so it was like a good 30-40% of guys came there from the dead bedroom place. And they used to go back to the dead bedroom, start evangelizing over there until the mods over there, which were all chicks, fucking put a stop to that. They banned anything red pill on site. I was just laughing. All these guys in there crying about how brutal their wife is. They've sorted out, and then they go back to tell guys, hey guys, in Plato's cave, there's a thing up there with some light. And the guys are like, no, fuck you. Don't you fill these idiots with hope? You got to be nice about it.
The dead bedroom mods were women?
Yeah. Dude, most of the mods in all like the MRAs, name other than Paul Elam, which again, that's a bit of a stretch. Name the most prominent male in the men's rights advocacy space.
Yeah, honestly, the only men's right advocates I know are women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all are. That's how MGTOW started. And that's kind of like, that's why Red Pill was so toxic. Is because like you need to keep women out. And it's not because women are bad or women are wrong. It's just that women can't help but make things accommodate women. And unfortunately, like this is a bit of an adversarial process. So you have to win at the expense of women. But as a guy, you're more of a benevolent dictator. So you'll bring her along and you guys will have a great life anyway. As opposed to if she wins and she grinds you under her boot.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's how MGTOW started. The MRAs, it used to be a bunch of guys back on like the Usenet. I don't know if you remember Usenet. And like the BBS sites and that.
Yep.
They were doing this stuff and email. They actually had like printed newsletters and all this stuff. And eventually they started letting women in because they were allies. And then one woman got in. It was like, oh, it's great. We got our cheerleader now. And then more women came in and they started fighting over who got to be the most popular girl there. And then the whole place had to change to accommodate women. And then a bunch of guys were like, you know, this is stupid. We're going to go our own way of men's rights. And that's what MGTOW, that's what going your own way originally meant. Men's rights, but no women allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then pick up same thing when they started having like RSD, Sarah, and all that, and it was just, it's like the Gamer Girls article from Rollo. As soon as you make a space that's about guys, some woman will sneak in because hey, I could be the coolest woman here, and then a second one will show up, and then those two will fight with each other, and they'll form a unified front when any guy pushes back. And it really is how, like, the only spaces that have put any type of resistance to it are the red pilled space and gamers of all people with the Gamergate shit, man. Which is back, I hear. Eh?
Gamergate. Oh yeah, hear about that? She just married herself, right? The one chick.
Oh, not just that. This thing is Sweet Baby Inc. It's this company that was what she wanted to do. Like, she crawled so they could run. They were the ones that have ruined all the games lately, like The Last of Us 2 and all this stuff, and the Saints Row, and everybody's like, why is this such weird, woke garbage? It's because of them. They would bully companies. They promised them like harassment campaigns if they didn't hire them, and then they would change the narrative structure to be more inclusive. And they're making a killing off it until eventually, but then somebody was like, hey, which companies have these people worked for and on what games? And they made a list of it. And it's literally every game that you like, how did they ruin that, friend? Yeah, that was there. And then they started harassing and death threats to these people. And now it's become a whole big thing. And now everybody's just before the election again, when Trump's coming back in, Gamergate's back. And I was just like, is this AstroTurf or is this like legitimately happening? I don't even know anymore.
It's hard to tell in an election year, like what's real. What is it?
Dude, I don't even know if this is real. For all I know, we could be DNC plants. Are you getting paid? I'm not, but I would say that if I was.
I wish I was.
I asked. I'm like, dude, I'm a Canadian. I could easily be like an American conservative that sets the Overton window. That's the Jordan Peterson, Gavin McInnes. Like, come on, man. That's like our gift.
We already
Steven
have
Crowder.
We already have that fucking Canadian rapper guy. What's his name? Tom Arnold or whatever. He's Canadian.
Yeah, him too.
Yeah, we already
have thought you could be the shittier Tom Arnold. How did I beat the other Tom Arnold? Damn it. But no, all the Canadian conservatives are American.
That's the Canadian conservatives are American.
I actually wouldn't be surprised if Ben Shapiro was Canadian. That's the only one I don't know for sure.
Good question.
Yeah, Steven Crowder, Jordan Peterson, Gavin McInnes, all Canadian from Toronto, Montreal.
Talk about American politics.
Yeah.
That's
conservatives. Because if you're Canadians with any talent, you got to move to the States. So that's how we get the grift. And the liberal thing is like, it's hard to get in on that grift. You have to cut off your dick. And nobody's gonna
we have a lot of homegrown liberals here, especially out of California. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the problem. California is so much better than Canada because you're together and it's warmer.
All right. I think that's those are all the questions I had for these books. Guys, get these books. All right. They're both available on Amazon and Audible. They are on my multi-read list. I recommend them if you are in a relationship, and I think you should add them to your multi-read list too. Ryan, where can people find you online? Let me pull up your Wayman. Am I right? Shit. There we go.
Dude, if I'm playing things right lately, you can't. I've gone private on Twitter because I'm just tired of the shit. I'm tired of all this.
I was going to ask you about that. We can talk about that offline. But
okay, well, it's fine. Elon put me on that stupid. He thought I was spamming, so I'm like, all right, fuck you. I don't make money off of Twitter anyway. I'm just there for the love of the game.
I am making money off Twitter now. Finally,
you son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'm getting those Elon bucks, those Elon ducats. I posted a fucking meme that has 8 million views, and I became eligible. So I was like, oh, okay, fine, fuck it. And then
look at you go. That's why you had that big opinion on the tomboy with the stonefish.
I don't have a big opinion on that. I have more of an opinion about her fake tits that Rolo pointed out.
Fair. They are nice though. Yeah. Okay, yeah, but to answer your question, where to find me? It depends what level of investment you want. If it's just shit posting and having fun, there's Twitter. I still have Rian Stone and Digital Ryan, the gaming channel one. If you just want to be able to chill and hang out, I have my gaming channel, Digital Ryan. Got the SMP. We got a bunch of guys. We're actually like playing digital Legos together. How much of a distance is that from like alpha male bullshit? Loving it.
When are you going to make the full pivot to just do video games and then just let your original Rian Stone Red Pill channel just go off into the sunset? It's still there. You can go back and watch the archives, but you're not making new shit anymore. Like, when's that coming down the pipe?
If it's going to happen, it's going to be this year, I think.
Okay.
Because you've been seeing me. I'm kind of like, I'm really like, it's hard to keep up. I haven't done a chick talk in forever. I can't hate women anymore, man. It's hard.
What I asked the other day on one of my streams was what fucking happened to Manosphere morning streams? Those were awesome.
Yeah. That's the problem is, you know why I hate those? They're my least favorite one, but they were one of my most popular because it was satire.
Yeah.
But then everybody kind of loved it sincerely. And I'm like, fuck.
You guys are missing the point here.
Yeah, it's like when Dave Chappelle kept making those racism things. Everybody's like, dude, I'm loving these. They're like, yeah, they were liking them a little too much. No, it's kind of like that. It was just, I maybe I'll do a couple more in the spring here when the Hawaiian shirt season comes back. But then for the serious stuff, the red pill stuff, there's still the Substack. The Substack's always there. It's the writing. It's got a free subscription model. You guys, I support that by just, hey, here's what's going on with the books or other projects. Then there's a paid model where we really get into depth. I'll probably release at least one or more 2 books on collections of case studies. Kind of like that. I don't know if you ever read it. It was like Christopher Hitchens' Letters from a Something Contrarian. Kind of like that style of book. Anyways, it'll be more just, it's not like a tome of knowledge or like anything like Dread or Frame, but it's more like, here's like 50 examples of guys who have gone through that for, a little bit lighter reading, like a reinforcement thing.
Dr. Robert Glover's 3rd book is similar to that. It's called Dating Essentials for Men, Frequently Asked Questions. And it's just questions and answers from guys in his private group. And he compiled a whole book out of it. It's actually a pretty fucking good book, honestly. But
I got to add that to the list then. I think that's the one of his I haven't read. But yeah, so there's Substack for that.
He just came out with another one.
Another one?
Yeah, he came out with like a month or 2 ago. It's a collab though. It's him and some other guy, and it's called like Carry a Big Stick or something. I don't know. I was like, what the fuck is he doing? But yeah, I think he co-authored this one. Oh, but yeah, he's got a 4th one out now.
And then, so when you talked about the pivot, that was the other thing. I might be pivoting to write a fiction book next, actually. So we'll see. I've done all the training. I've followed a bunch of authors. I've got like my notebook of prep ideas, and we'll see if it manifests. I don't want to say I am doing it because then I'll just get the dopamine rush and not do it. But
yeah, are you doing that with like Vince and Rollo? Because they were going to do some kind of like.
No, I'm just going to do it.
Just
it's a skill
separate.
I want to learn. Yeah, I know how to write books now, so now I have to learn how to write a story, like a fiction book. That's just what I do with everything. I learn, find a bunch of examples of people who have done it when they wrote down how they did it. I read how they did it and learn how they do it, and then I'll do my own. And if it sells, it's great, and if it doesn't, it sucks and whatever.
Yeah, and fuck it. I'm not doing that anymore.
And then if that kind of gets me going, I'll probably go in the fiction side of things and leave this shit behind because dude,
you got to make a big fucking, I'm leaving the manosphere.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Leaving the manosphere. Here's my new podcast called Yelling at Chicks with White Claws. Yeah, that's the worst part, man. So I like talking with you about this. I like talking with Rollo about this. I love reading through old case reports or field reports.
Yeah.
I love the nuts and bolts of it. The stuff I cannot stand is artards.
Yeah.
I hate the fact that I have to sit around with like a bunch of like that big goofy Amazonian redheaded centaur bitch with the gums. I hate how I have to hear about her nonstop and her army of, IKEA dress wearing, I just baked a cake, here's my tits squads. And then like every pathological liar who can't hold a job at a gas station's coming at me from the other side. Then Andrew Tate with his Bugatti is like, I'm going to jail, but I'm taking your like, I hate all of this stuff. I really do.
Yeah. I was thinking about this just today, honestly. I was thinking about this. I was like, I swear to God, like 2 years ago when I was just getting into stuff, getting introduced to you guys, you were like, I was like, I don't understand why these guys are so fucking jaded. Like I like working with everybody, and you're like, you're going to get there. You're going to get there. And I'm like,
no, you're there. Oh,
I'm on the verge, man. I'm on the verge. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, why does it have to be like this? But it is. It is what it is.
It's not even that they're not good. It's like they're actively working against your effort.
Yeah.
So it's like you're at the strip club and it's like, there's that one guy in the strip club. Oh, I guess you don't have these. So we have sometimes called loony games because we don't have dollar bills.
Oh.
So a girl will put like a jar next to her cooter and then everybody throws loonies over there to kind of put them in there. It's fun and she earns some money. And there's always that one guy who like warms it up with his lighter and then tries to whip it out her ass and gets kicked out. It's like this space is full of those guys.
Yeah.
And you're like, I've learned so much about Canadian strip clubs that I did not want to know. Yeah, Alberta,
did you know,
they're big on those.
Did you know that in Utah, at strip clubs and stuff like that, you can't put dollars in girls' G-strings and you can't hand them dollars because of some Mormon law that's there. You have to throw the dollar on the floor and she can come and pick it up.
Oh, so she's like a janitor.
Right. But it's some kind of Mormon fucking conservative blue law where it's like, we don't want you touching this impure bitch's skin. So you can throw it on the floor, but you can't hand her money.
That's so weird. Dude,
Yeah.
it blows my mind when I find out American strip clubs, you can't have like fully nude and alcohol in the same venue.
Yeah. That's at a lot of places.
So messed up. It's like, why would you go to a titty bar to drink Mountain Dew?
Well, so a lot of them get away with it. There's the last time I went to a strip club, which was,
and I know I'm talking about Diego specifically. That's the one. That's the first place I found out about this.
Yeah. San Diego, it's like that in most places, but yeah, in San Diego, I went to. Fuck, I can't remember what it was. It was like 17 years ago, though. I went with some married guys. We all went to the strip club. We decided we went to a hockey game, and they were all like, "Let's go to the strip club." And I was like, "Yeah, fuck it, why not?"
Yeah.
Deja Vu, that's what it was. We went to Deja Vu, and you couldn't have alcohol in there, but they basically owned the bar right in the next door, in the building next door. It was called the Dugout.
Oh, okay.
So you had in and out privileges all night to go over to the Dugout, drink, and come back. So that's how they get around that shit. They own the bar next to the place. But yeah.
God, I don't know, man. Prohibition, whatever the hell happened there, you guys need to fix that. Make another one of them amendments you guys have on your constitution.
We need. Well, they.
That's how they got rid of. That's they added and then got rid of prohibition was amendments, right? And then you just forgot to. Oh, the titty bar. We'll get it next time. And
yeah,
never did.
There's nothing in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights or any of the amendments about titty bars. So it's up to the states at that point.
Well, so was abortion, but I mean,
it's still
up.
You know
I shouldn't even be going here.
It's still up to the states. They haven't they that whole thing, the Roe versus Wade. We are going off on a tangent. We'll wrap up here. with that one, they just overturned Roe versus Wade, which was a Supreme Court decision.
Right.
So it was never in the Constitution. It was a Supreme Court decision. So when they overturned that, it just sent it back to the states. So there's states like Texas that are super conservative. They're like, okay, we are making stricter laws about it, right? But then there's states like California that are like, no, you can abort your kid up to 18 years old. Like, you know.
You're not even lying. I think the euthanasia for mature minors, at least in Canada, that's how we sold it.
That's why, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, because when my son's stepping out of line, I'm like, bro, you just fucking watch it, okay?
Get in the suicide booth, kid.
All right, Ryan, thank you so much for joining me, man. I appreciate you. I'm going to link to all your stuff here in the description.
Oh, thanks, man. I had a blast.
Ryan, thanks again for joining me, man. You know you're always welcome back. I loved your books. I really did. I'm not just paying that lip service. They're really good. They're on the multi-read list. I recommend your books all the time. They're that valuable. They're really good. So anyways, I know you don't like people giving you compliments, but fuck you, man. You're a fucking take this compliment, you son of a bitch. Fucking smart genius, writes fucking 3 books, and look at me. I'm a fucking, king of the manosphere or whatever. I don't know. Fuck that guy. I'm just messing around. All right, guys, that's all I got for this episode. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. If you guys didn't participate in the live chat and you're watching the replay, drop a comment below. Maybe you got some questions for Ryan or something like that. I can always tell him, hey man, I got these questions in the comments. If you guys want to do that, that's cool. That'll boost us in the algorithm. Otherwise, drop your favorite emoji. Doesn't even matter. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Do get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com, and I'll send you a bunch of free stuff. Get my book, okay? Yes, we all love Ryan's shit, okay? But get my fucking book too, okay? It came out around the same time. It's also available on Audible and Kindle and paperback and hardcover and all that kind of stuff. And then, guys, do check out the dating course, dates.comeonmanpod.com. It is coming from the perspective of a guy living out in cow country, but it will work in the city too, okay? The things I teach in this course are universal, all right? All right, that's all I have for this episode, guys. We will see you on Wednesday for the live stream.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. New full episodes served hot every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform of choice. So subscribe now. Follow Paul on social media. The links are in the description. Now, Go out and get it.